Good day all, RobotnikHolmes here. And who remembers the Chaotix? No, not that Chaotix. Those guys have character. I'm referring to their pre-Sonic Hero cells. You know, these doofuses. Knuckles Chaotix was a rather nice looking Sonic game that was released on the Sega 32X. The gameplay was kind of crap, but hey, it looked good. But anyway, the reason I'm going into this subject is because this was the first game to star the titular Chaotix team. You know, these dudes. Frickin' Vector the Crocodile, Espio the Chameleon, Charmy B, missing out the for some reason, and also Mighty the Armadillo at this point, and Heavy and Bomb. In both the game and the Archie comics, they're portrayed as friends of Knuckles, like close enough buddies to want to go on adventures with him and stop Dr. Robotnik. I don't think in the games it's explained how they met, I guess they just had the same goal at the time, but what I'm hoping for is that this single issue special might shed some light on the subject. You know, how this lowly arse echidna who just sits his bum on an island all day would meet this random assortment of dudes. I mean, there's got to be some origin to it. I'm probably putting a bit too many expectations on this thing that was probably just intended to be a tie-in to the game, but I can hope. It's not like there's anything else worth noting about this thing. It's got the writing talents of Mike Kantarovich and Penders in it. And yeah, I correctly say Mike Kantarovich instead of Mike Gallagher because for some stupid reason I keep thinking one's the other when they both share the same bloody first name and role. But I won't let my stupidity get in the way of my reviews.
It's not like that hasn't stopped you before.
Thank you. Alright, so the Knuckles Chaotix special. Is it good? Is it bad? Is there a reason why we don't remember it? Well, there's only one way to find out. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. Today, I'm going to take a look at the 4th single issue special, Knuckles Chaotix. I'm, not exactly sure what I think about the cover. It's got everything we need to know, like, it's got the Chaotix guys, and plus Sonic and Knuckles standing around and doing some stock poses. I'm glad the artist Spaz was able to draw them on model, but what exactly is up with Vector over there? Is he jamming out to an invisible guitar? And, the less said about Mighty and Charmy, the better. Clearly the late 90s wasn't the best time for comic book adaptations, considering how freaking goofy these guys look. Oh, also worth mentioning on this cover, freaking huge spoilers for the final boss! I mean, don't get me wrong, I love how he's drawn, but imagine if you were a 90s kid picking this up before you even played the game. Actually, wait, I don't think that would matter because the game was already obscure. And I kinda like Metal Sonic Kai's design, even when translated into awkward comic style. Also, oh my goodness, look at this synopsis art! I know the struggle of the war between the good guys and the big bad is a big deal and all, and while this is clearly trying to play up the tragedy of this eternal battle, having Knuckles looking glum while standing on his island, while the surface of Mobius goes into what I can only assume is a nuclear war below. It's a little on the nose, but I don't know, I kind of have a soft spot for how Nami it looks. Okay, let's get into this first story, the Chaos Effect. It takes place on Angel Island, of course. Oh, sorry, the floating island, my mistake. But yeah, Knuckles is still making sure that anybody who steps foot on his home turf is kicked out with extreme prejudice. And also since then, I guess he put up some signs to make sure people get the message. But wait a second, it cuts to the freedom fighters sneaking onto Angel Island through its lush jungles. And that's just to come to this random theme park? Yeah, there's now a theme park on Angel Island. I mean, it makes for a neat splash page, showing various characters all having fun and playing games and whatnot. We got the substitute freedom fighters, Jeffrey St. John is there too, I guess they're all on their freaking vacation. Oh, and Amy's there too for a quick cameo. I don't like the look she's giving Sonic though. If I were him, I'd take the next air car out of here. Oh yeah, Knuckles is here! I forgot he starred in this Knuckles Chaotix special. He's apparently not a happy camper, what with someone having stuck onto his island and built an entire theme park without his saying so. And who's the culprit to blame? Why, none other than this rat dude, Renfield T. Rodent. Also, I guess the T in his name might stand for the. But then again, that'll put everyone else's name into question. It's not like the freedom fighters care, though. The moment this suspicious guy shows them one of his prized attractions, they're all just like, duh, come on guys, we may be protecting the planet from scum exactly like this, but why don't we have some fun? And fun they have. They go into this Hall of Mirrors to see their features become warped, because that's what Halls of Mirrors do. I think it's kind of downplayed here, at least visually. You guys could just be looking at regular reflections and you'd just be looking at the same thing. But wait, we need a reason for the good guys to be trapped so that Knuckles is the only good guy left. So it's up to the annoyed red guy to get to the bottom of what's going on, and oh dear, would you look at that? It's Dr. Robotnik behind the whole thing all over again after the last one of fucking... You know, I wasn't expecting the story to blow its load so early. We already know that this Renfield dude is evil, and that Dr. Robotnik is his employer in this theme park plot. What else is there to get from this? Well, Dr. Robotnik appears to have taken Knuckles' gliding powers and his strength, and even the sodding spikes on his gloves somehow. Which is something, I guess. It's less science and more like magical whimsy. The villain also says that he could just send the Echidna to any reality and revel in his torture along with the other heroes, but he decides to set him free, because reasons that definitely won't come back to bite him in the arse, let me tell you. Everyone in this comic is just so stupid. And so, fighting freed Knuckles ponders, thinking of a plan of attack to save his not friends. But it seems he's just all out of options. He's got no style, he's got no spikes, so what the hell is he meant to do now? But then a speedy thing whizzes right past him unexpectedly. What's that? Someone with powers? Oh, it's Charmy Bee. A little less annoying in this early adaptation. Well, mildly less annoying. He's written with some really dumb dialogue here. And then suddenly Espio is here too. He and Charmy seem to be familiar with each other, as the latter calls out the former for being a sneaky bugger. This is weird. These guys are all just meeting on a secluded island. A floating one, I might add, just by total happenstance. But enough about that. Suddenly there's a loud noise or whatever, approaching them fast and panicking even Espio. Is it Robotnik coming back for more? Is it the island starting to fall again? Is this an unfunny portrayal of an already memic character? Oh lord, here he comes. Vector just strides in, being loud and basically annoying everyone. Good grief, these main characters are just coming out of the woodwork, aren't they? I don't know how they can push this any further. Like, maybe they'll just have the others, like, just blast through the wall, Kool-Aid Man style. Oh my god, I was joking! So, Mighty the Armadillo's here too, who also just happens to burst in at the right time and join Knuckles in his heroics. There's also these two other guys, who are based on the Robot Clutch characters from the game. I'm kinda surprised they're here, with their backstories intact, to be honest. After reading the other comic tie-ins, you don't really expect consistency. So, the robot guy, whose name is actually Heavy... Yeah, I wish. Shows the others the insides of the cave that Mighty just went and pounded through. Well, it's not a cave so much as it is a giant mountain. Yeah, Mighty's pretty tough in this. You see, inside, there's this pod that they stole from Dr. Robotnik after they turned against their creator. And what's inside it? Power gems. These little things that are not Chaos Emeralds, but they may as well be just as powerful, considering they were what made the mirrors trap the heroes, and they're the power source of these two robot boys. So Knuckles decides to fight fire with fire, and concocts a plan to use these gems to go and save his sort of friends. And meanwhile, Dr. Robotnik and Renfield are having one of those typical page-full dialogue trees that these writers love putting in, no matter how silly they look. I guess this is here just in case the readers weren't aware that the rat guy was in cahoots with the ruler of 99.9% of the planet. But then, something starts reactivating the rides of the theme park trap. Yep, it's Knuckles and his new friends. And how does the villain decide to handle the threat against his most successful plan yet? By unleashing Metal Sonic on the Echidna, of course. Here they just call it Mecha Sonic again. Oh jeez. Also, please don't let Art Morley draw Metal Sonic ever again. So, Metal Sonic advances on the heroes, ready to fight them. And while it's neat that they incorporate the ring tethers into their fighting style, it's still a rather dull fight, and it goes on for pages. Metal Sonic is beaten up by the different characters, as they say corny one-liners, until eventually the metallic doppelganger has had enough. Oh wait, he's transforming into his Metal Sonic Kai form! I'm assuming this is also due to the power gems or something. Thankfully, Knuckles uses one of the gem MacGuffins, and now he's just as big as his opponent. Yeah, they tried to make it out like it's a big epic battle, but to me it's just some giant game of Rock'em Sock'em robots. Either way, Knuckles smashes the giant robot into the Hall of Mirrors, and it's the energies of the power gem that frees the freedom fighters from their prison, and also restores their missing abilities. Yep, Knuckles has got his weird spiked abnormalities again, and with that, he delivers the last punch, leaving the transformed Metal Sonic as nothing but a pile of crimson rubbish. Dr. Robotnik, in the least threatening way possible, decides to hightail it out of there on a dinky little rocket ride. In doing so, he leaves Renfield in the dust, and presumably to be taken in by the authorities. When will these guys learn to never team up with Dr. Robotnik in this comic, because you always end up being betrayed by him. Also, what the hell, is he being arrested by the fricking Muppets? So, the heroes are reunited, and while Sonic and the others say that Knuckles and his team make a good combo, the Red Dude disagrees and says they make a bad team, as do the others, surprisingly enough. Apparently they hated the idea of being a team. So they all agree that they don't work well together, but that doesn't stop them from taking on a dramatic team-up pose as their name, the Chaotix, is crudely edited in. Jesus Christ, what a mess that was. Story 2, simply called The Chaotix, revolves around... oh god, what is this art? Sorry, let me be more professional about this. Charmy plays with Mighty and Vector in a game of tag, and everyone just decides to be colossal dicks to each other for no reason other than how funny it looks when printed on comic panels. Why do these guys even hang out with each other if they just make fun of each other like this? Anyway, that is until Espio enters the scene, and shortly after appearing, he trips over and meets a little bug dude. He says to him some cryptic nonsense that exists only to foreshadow how important he is later. And then, after Charmy meets Espio, he decides to continue their silly little game of tag. All the while I stare at the last panel where the artist got their sizes completely wrong. Okay, what was that? The last story, The Hunt Is On, has Knuckles reuniting with his friends for what is apparently a long while after the last story. What have you guys been doing this whole time? Standing in a forest on Angel Island? Don't you have families or homes to go back to? I bet they wish they had done that because they seem to be in quite a pickle all of a sudden. Knuckles informs the Chaotix of this mysterious name, Archimedes, that he had uncovered on his travels. And when he starts sharing that name with his friends, they start to disappear in increasingly ludicrous ways. Vector falls into a hole. Charmy gets pelted at by bombs. And, I don't know, has Vietnam flashbacks. Mighty fights a random robot, and then they end up in a stalemate. And Espio, the alert ninja-like figure that he is, gets straight up kidnapped by a random ninja. This leaves Knuckles all on his lonesome, but a voice tells him that he should have been looking out for his friends the whole time. In that moment, Knuckles is given an ultimatum by the mysterious voice. Either save his friends that he supposedly thinks importantly of, or protect his home island from a looming threat. Or how about a third option? How about screw this comic? Okay, let's start off with the good. The first story, The Chaos Effects, wasn't that bad, honestly. I like how it went with the theme park-like setting, and incorporated other subtle references to the game it was based on. Renfield T. Rodent, as useless as he was as a villain, was a nice change of pace when compared to the usual villain roster of just loud bad guys. Oh, the handling of the Chaotix was kind of neat. They focused less on their individual personalities, but they also made an effort to show off their physical abilities. The story, as simplistic as it was, had a cathartic feel when Knuckles got to return to show the villain what's for. And the rest of it was kind of crap. I freaking hate the dialogue sprouting from these characters. None of them have any personality, or even had a chance to showcase their individual quirks. Plus, the cast was a bit bloated this time. The Freedom Fighters appear at the beginning, but what's the point in bringing them along for the ride if they amount to nothing except background filler? Why have the Chaotix appear if they're just going to work together out of total happenstance instead of, I don't know, them having actual personality traits? Take Knuckles. He loses his powers in this story. Does he react to it in any meaningful way? Maybe try to come to terms with being a normie now? No. The best I can say about the writing, and kind of Ken Penders' writing as a whole, is that the things certainly happen, but not for any discernible reason. The characters never have meaningful interactions, or even evolve. Things just happen around them, and they comment on it while doing their hero thing. It's so boring. The power gems are introduced as nothing more than plot MacGuffins, and they're the answer to, well, everything in this comic. Powering the robots, powering the amusement park, allowing the heroes to overcome odds by just holding them, I did find it weird how it works on robots, but it also works on, like, living beings. It was all pretty wasted. Like, even Metal Sonic Kai, the big red mecha that the comic announced as its main selling point. Yeah, that was poorly handled too. It existed only as something for Knuckles to punch and defeat with ease. The other two stories, I'm kind of ashamed I even spent time talking about them. They only exist to foreshadow things, or in this case, build up the character of Archimedes. Character development or interactions be damned if all they're going to do with them is have the characters kidnapped and force Knuckles to rescue them for the sake of the plot. Why is Archimedes teaching Knuckles this by kidnapping his friends, when in the context of this very comic, like in the first story, they're more like people he just met? Ugh, I give up on trying to figure this out. The stories in this one, except maybe the first one, were rather tiring to read. As an introduction to the Chaotix, I think they really could have done better. I'm giving the story a simple 2. Ugh, I'm of two minds about this. On one hand, Artman really didn't do a bad job in the art department. He drew the Chaotix rather well, and any splash page he made had a lot of neat background elements. But the layout of the panels directs the art, and I don't know, it just makes it really bland to look at, man. The art of Mikado Keijo and Penders was an eyesore too, there's no sugarcoating it. The Chaotix were already looking a bit weird when drawn by artists who, at the time, weren't quite sure of what they were doing. I mean, god, look at these guys. This was so badly drawn, I think Penders did a better job. And that's freaking saying something, honestly. Whatever. I'm giving the art a score of 1. Final score for this disappointing piece of rubbish was a 3 out of 10. That was messed up. I really hoped it would have been at least a decently bad comic, but it was just straight up bad. Long story short, don't read this old Archie comic that is out of print. Whatever. In the next video, I'm going to review this issue that I missed out because, apparently, I can't read chronological orders right. So stay tuned for next time, or earlier in the timeline, where I look at the special issue, Sonic Triple Trouble, also based on one of the games. It's also got Knack the Weasel in it, in his first appearance in this comic, and it's got the more joke-heavy writer on board, so who knows? Maybe that one will be worth a read. Anyway, I thank you for watching this video all the way through, and I'll see you soon.